I remember, Sean, you telling us that, like, when you recover, I think everyone expects there to be, like, a moment, and there's not. It's so gradual, and you almost don't really notice because I think we're also hard on ourselves as humans until you really look back and you're like, "Oh, shit," like, a month ago, or not a month, for me, it was, like, 6 months ago, I couldn't even go to the grocery store by myself. I couldn't even drive down the street, and now I'm, like, I have 2 jobs, I'm driving everywhere by myself, I'm going on trips, all these things, and I didn't even realize it till I really looked back and I was like, "Wow." I was, like, way down here and, like, I'm just in a whole different mindset now.
What's up, everybody? Sean here from Bye Bye Panic, and today I have an amazing guest. I have Daniela to share her story. Daniela joined the mentorship, and she's going to be really telling you what her biggest symptoms were, how she overcame it, and how her life is now. And basically, I told her, hey, there's no holding back. Say whatever you want, say your truth because there's no wrong answer because it's your truth. And you'll honestly hear me praise her a lot in the interview because the unique thing about Daniela that I found, particularly, was the fact that she was very enthusiastic in the recovery journey. And what that meant was when you're going through this, it can really beat you down. It's very easy to look at things negatively. It feels like you'll never get out of this. And Daniela had those feelings too, but I think what really helped her on the recovery journey was her enthusiasm and her constant drive to get better and looking at fearful situations as opportunities. And for me, that's one of the biggest catalysts to the recovery journey. It's not about circumventing these stressful, anxiety provoking situations. It's about experiencing it and moving forward, right? Whether that's you experiencing physical symptoms in certain situations or all the time, panic attacks, intrusive thoughts, the DPDR, wherever it is, it's really about approaching those things head on. So without further ado, check out her story and I hope you enjoy. What's up, everybody? I have Daniela. Daniela was in the mentorship, and she's been gracious enough to hop on the channel and share with us her story. So, Daniela, welcome.
I am happy to be here. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me, Sean.
of course, of course. So, Daniela, everyone's probably curious about what were your biggest symptoms? What were your most debilitating symptoms? What would you say?
So it's crazy because my journey, I'm 25 right now. It started when I was in 6th grade,
Yeah.
and the first symptom I had, I remember I went to the movies. I was watching the movie Click. I still remember this day like it was yesterday. And I didn't eat breakfast that day. So I got up really fast and I almost passed out. My family had to carry me out. And that's what initially got me into the cycle. So from there, any sign of dizziness was like alarms for me. So I would say that was the huge first symptom that I experienced with anxiety. And then over the years, it was kind of in and out. There'd be moments where like it would go away and I just kind of was living my life, and then I'd go through a stressful period and then it would come back. And then I remember it was maybe like in high school, I was going through a stressful period again. I would get panic attacks too, a lot of panic attacks, and I was very codependent on my mom. Like I could not go anywhere if my mom wasn't there. I would start panicking, I would get major anxiety, I would feel dizzy, and I think it was because when I felt very dizzy that first day at the movie theater, I felt like I needed someone there to like help me. So from there on out, if I didn't have someone there, I felt like who's going to save me if something happens basically. So I developed like a codependency problem, and it was really hard for me to be alone. And so that was a huge problem for me. And then I think in high school, I found Dare, which you've advocated for that book by Barry. I don't remember his last name, McDough, something like that, right?
McDonough, I think I butcher his last name too. I
Yeah.
think
So
I
Dare,
don't know.
it's
McDonough? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
at the time that helped me, and I was in high school, so there was so much going on. And I think naturally, because I was living life every single day, I mean, high school, you have so many things happening socially and just academically that I naturally just got out of it and I was fine. And then I would say like 2 years ago, I went through a really bad breakup and all the added stress kind of hit me at once. And then similar thing, like that anxious feeling, that dizzy feeling came back and I was back in. But I was like determined this time. I'm like, there's a reason why I keep falling in and out of the cycle. Like, I don't think I'm doing this right. So then I came across your videos, Sean, on YouTube, and I was like, oh wow, this is like the first person that isn't advocating for like medicine and like distracting tactics like flicking your wrists and putting cold water on your head, which is all I had seen prior. It's like dump your head in cold water and then your panic attack will go away. And I was like, I don't know. I just never really liked that because it just didn't really make sense. It's like, what if I don't have ice nearby? Like, what am I going to do, you know? So I came across your videos and I was like, wow, this is different. And then I found the membership link, and that's kind of where my journey started with you. Yeah.
And so I'm curious about, because I know a lot of people will be thinking about it, which is so your first situation where you fell in from the dizziness, was that like an isolated situation, or is there like a history of like low blood pressure? Like what exactly happened in that
So
situation?
I just didn't eat breakfast that day. And I mean, this happens to a lot of people. Like when they're like, I think it was one of those theaters where you're like able to lay down. So I mean,
Mhm.
for a lot of people, when you get up too fast, you like see black or like you get really dizzy.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, this happened when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
And that day I didn't eat any breakfast. So I think it just, I mean, this would happen to probably anyone that goes and doesn't eat breakfast and they're laying down. It was like a 2 hour movie too. Um, and also a factor of it is my mom, she actually dealt with anxiety and panic attacks growing up my whole life. I would watch her go to the hospital because she didn't know what it was. And so I think all these little things kind of like caused me to like get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like where it started for me.
Got it. Yeah. So with the dizziness, you kind of associated with passing out, and anytime you had that feeling, it was like a natural, oh no, and that's what
Yeah,
led to everything. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense and stuff. And so then you initiated and then you joined the mentorship. And I was telling you before this call that you were a rock star. Um, I honestly, I sometimes it's like this weird like imposter syndrome for me for like having these calls sometimes because it's like I don't feel like I have to tell you much. Like I was just like, hey, just do this, 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 and like you just kind of did it, and you did really well. Like, and so I was just congratulating you and like how well you've done. You know, you've probably felt the ups and downs and stuff, but I wanted to ask you, how was your experience? How was your experience going through the recovery journey, being in the mentorship? How was that for you?
It was amazing because it was the first time where I felt seen. Because I mean, people watching this, you have so many people in your life that say, oh, like I suffer with anxiety and depression, or I have anxiety. But I feel like a lot of those people don't really know like the type of anxiety that we experience here. It's like so different than, oh, like I'm an anxious person. It's like a whole different experience, you know? And so I never felt like I could talk to anyone about this. It almost felt like I was the only one going through it. So I think the biggest thing out of the membership compared to just watching your videos is the sense of community. And I think ultimately that's what helps me get to where I am today, is that sense of community. And also just learning about the scientific facts behind like why anxiety and panic attacks occur. Like all those things really helped me get there. But I would say ultimately the community and like being around coaches and people that have gone through the exact same experience that I have, like genuinely, and seeing them get past it and like being able to cheer everyone on, that was what did it for me and like what encouraged me to keep going even on the days that I didn't want to keep going. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. And so one of the best things I thought about you, I mean, like you have a lot of great qualities, but like one of the things that really stood out to me was um I just thought you had a really strong mindset. And you're really optimistic. But I'm curious about what you thought, because my question really is, what does the how do you feel about the future moving forward? Like after experiencing all these things, um, how do you look at the future in terms, because you're 25, you're still young.
Yeah.
I was 23. I was around your age when I was coming through the recovery journey too. How do you feel?
Honestly, like I always say, like anxiety has been like my greatest weakness and like my biggest strength, because not only has it helped me get past these problems, but I think in general you can use any of these teachings and in any aspect of your life that has nothing to do with anxiety. So like in general, like anxiety completely put off to the side, I think it's just made me grow as a person, and I can use this in any level in my life. If I'm stressed, if I'm angry, I can apply the exact same steps that I would use if I was having anxiety. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that it doesn't just have to be used on anxiety, it can be used on any aspect in your life. And so I think that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to, be an example for people and just keep growing. Like, that's something with anxiety too that I want people to know is like, what my mistake that I made is that I always had an end goal in my head. Like, I wanted to get to a certain finish line. But in general, like, there's never an end goal. You're always going to want to be improving yourself. You're never going to be at 100% because that'd be boring. So don't like think of it as like, okay, I need to reach this certain goal, this end goal. Like, this is my finish line. Like, just think of it as like you're always going to be constantly growing, even when like the physical and emotional symptoms go away. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's really interesting. I made a video. I think I released, what's today? Thursday. I think I released it like Tuesday or like Monday or something. It talks about like how most people think
Mhm.
recovery, and I get it because I thought like this too, which was like recovery is my symptoms are no longer there. And that makes sense, right? Like I wanted it to go away, you want it to go away, but true recovery, that's almost like a consequence. The true recovery happens is when you change the relationship to those uncomfortable feelings, right? Whether it's the symptoms and stuff like that. And now you're noticing, well, what at least what I notice is that I still deal with like uncomfortable feelings, right? Like work stuff happens, this happened, I got late, my Uber ride canceled, like and all these things. But it's like how I it's my relationship to reacting to those uncomfortable sensations that help
Yeah.
me get to recovery. And the consequence in the recovery standpoint, what you went through is that the symptoms go away, but you can't measure it based on symptoms going away and becoming 100%. Otherwise, it doesn't work that way. If that makes
Exactly.
sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. What would you say, Daniela, to somebody right now that is like hit rock bottom, kind of like probably where you might have been when you were watching my content. What would you tell them watching this video where they feel like they're unique? Uh, they're something.
So giving a little tough love is like you just have to do it. You can't go into the membership or even into anxiety recovery in general and think that watching videos and talking to people is what's going to get you there. You have to put in the work. And that's something that I did. I wanted my life back and I was like, I'm going to do something that scares me shitless right now, but I'm going to do it. And I think that's why I was able to get where I am today, is because I pushed myself to do it. I went out, I exposed myself. I drove when I didn't want to drive. I went to the grocery store alone when I didn't want to do that. And ultimately, the actions behind your purpose is what's going to get you to where you want to be. Sitting at home, watching videos, being sad for yourself is not going to do anything for you. If you want your life back, you have to put in the action. So that would be my biggest advice, is like, you just have to do it. You
Yeah,
have to get up and do it because no one's going to do it for you. Only you can do it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. The mentors and I. We have a meeting every Wednesday, and we were talking about like what makes people like stand out, like you, for example, who does really well, just in recovery, just in general. And we were talking about like this idea of willingness versus desire. So everybody has the desire to get better, but very few are willing to feel uncomfortable and go through, what we say, the only way out is through, like going
Mhm.
through and feeling the symptoms and responding to it and not try to circumvent it, like experiencing it and responding. And that's actually, it's a lot rarer than I thought. Um, and I think for you, one really great quality I saw was like that's kind of innate in you. This idea of like this willingness. It's like, okay, I'm willing to do it, and it's a great mindset that you've had. And
Yeah, it's really important, and also a big thing too is, like, even now, like, I still experience anxiety symptoms, I'm still going through it, but I'm okay with that, and that's something that people just need to be aware of, is when you go through this, you are gonna have moments where you feel amazing, and you feel great, and you don't even know what anxiety is, and then you feel anxiety maybe the next day, and that's okay. That's something that was hard for me to learn, because I would go through moments where I would feel so amazing and then I would get anxious and I would get hard on myself and get angry, but that's where the problem was, is
Yeah.
being okay when anxiety comes up again. And that's what ultimately builds that strength in you and kind of like teaches your brain that when you feel anxiety, it's okay. It's normal. We're human. We're going to feel stress. We're going to feel all these emotions, and to just use the steps and you're going to be okay, you know? So that's another big thing too, is like know that it's okay if you feel anxious from time to time, even if you feel like you're recovered. Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. I think one of the biggest things that people that sometimes I'll notice when they fumble is like they'll say, "Ah, but my symptoms aren't gone yet." And, for you who's in the recovery journey, who's doing so much better, you're coming clean and saying, "My symptoms aren't gone yet either, but now I know what the problem is."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that bridge that it's like, "Yo, it's not the symptom that's the issue here right now." The symptoms are there as a consequence because of you fighting it and resisting it, and all those things. So that's a really wise thing. And I think most people miss that. But like
Yeah.
I said, you were really good at catching that and responding.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I remember, Sean, you telling us that, like, when you recover, I think everyone expects there to be, like, a moment, and there's not. It's so gradual, and you almost don't really notice, because I think we're also hard on ourselves as humans until you really look back and you're like, "Oh, shit," like, a month ago, or not a month, for me, it was, like, 6 months ago, I couldn't even go to the grocery store by myself. I couldn't even drive down the street, you know, and now I'm, like, I have 2 jobs, I'm driving everywhere by myself, I'm going on trips, all these things, and I didn't even realize it till I really looked back and I was like, "Wow." I was, like, way down here and, like, I'm just in a whole different mindset now. And so that's
Yeah.
something too people need to realize, is there's not one, like, light bulb moment. It's a very gradual process that you're going to look back on and you're going to see your progress. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, context matters. It's like like sometimes like we're so caught up in the emotion of the moment. Like if we're not feeling good, we're like, and like it's just so easy to disregard all the progress. And that's why
Yeah.
I always say, like, kind of take the feelings with a grain of salt here, like especially at that moment, because what it'll do is it'll knock off clarity. And just being able to self-reflect critically and really like look at the progress you've made objectively, not in terms of how you feel, but in terms of like what are the milestones you've done, right? Like from not being able to go to the grocery store. Now I can do that effortlessly because there were times in my recovery journey where I was objectively making progress and I was still frustrated. There were times I was making progress and I was like, I'm never gonna get out of this. When I
Yeah.
was clearly making progress, and yet I was still thinking in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna get out of this. It's not gonna happen." And it was just because I was feeling high anxiety like in that moment, and it just clouded my judgment of like, "No, no, no, like look, like Sean, you were not able to leave your house. You couldn't drive. Now you're working 30 hours, 40 hours. Like, how could you say you're not making progress?" And so
Yeah.
it's measuring it based on, the activities and the response. And it's one of those things where action feelings follow action. People want to feel a certain way and then go back. But with recovery, it's flipped. Like
Yeah.
you do it, you'll feel like crap, but eventually you'll get back. So that's my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, and just stick out the because I remember that feeling too. It was a chunk of time where, like, I was doing the response correctly, but I felt like crap. And that's because our body is so sensitized, and so we're sending off all these alarms, and so I would just tell people, "Don't," that's, like, where you can't give up. Like, that's where you really need to stick it out, is that chunk of time where you feel like crap, even though
Yeah.
you're doing everything right. I promise, like, you will see the results if you stick it out.
Yeah. And so how did you go about that when like the symptoms were like really high and you felt like crap? I still personally like
Mhm.
reading through your posts and stuff, still felt like this level of optimism and stuff like that. So I'm curious, or maybe like, like what was going through your head during those times? I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Because, I had been in the cycle before and I had, like, recovered, even though it was kind of by mistakes, I still didn't know what I just naturally went back onto living, and so my stress hormones calmed down, and that's why I got out of it. The last time, I knew that it was possible to be, like, normal, like myself again, because I had gone through it by accident before. So I always had that optimism. I never thought that it was an impossible thing to do. And I think that's kind of what helped me a lot, is knowing that, this is possible. And I feel like it's hard for a lot of people that this is like the first time that they've gone through it because they don't know that yet. I kind of knew that already. So I had that in my back pocket a little bit to motivate
Mhm.
me. But during that time, I remember at the time when I first started the program, I had just gotten a new job. And it was very stressful for me because I had to drive to this new job and meet new people. And it was this whole thing. But I think even now, in my worst moments, more before, I would always just have the coaches, like you guys, like in my head. Like if I would start reacting the wrong way, I'd be like, what would Sean do? What would Merker do? What would she say to me right now? And that really did help me a lot, is just like using all the tactics and just going through like the toughest of times with you guys in my head. And I think every time I got through, like, I remember there was one time specifically I was driving and I felt so panicky and I just wanted to go home, but I had to go to the store and I was making all these excuses in my head of, I don't need to go to the store right now. I can go tomorrow. I can go with my mom. Like, but I was like, you know what? I want to recover. I just need to do it. So in that moment, I pushed myself. And I think all those little moments, it's kind of like you're just adding armor to yourself. Like every bad moment, you gain a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it just becomes so much easier to get through those tough moments when you push yourself through those really, really hard moments. So I think really just pushing myself when I was like, I really wanted to give up or go home or call someone or whatever it is, really pushing through those moments is what helped me get to where I am today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like those nuggets of core confidence, right? It's like it's in the moments where it's the most intense where you're like, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And you choose to do it. And it's like all of a sudden the scary moment where you're like, I don't think this is gonna work. All of a sudden it was like, yo, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And
The confidence that you develop within yourself. Yeah.
and there's some subtle things that are happening behind the scenes, Daniela, that it's easier to see as a coach because a lot of it, see, is still your frame because you were like, yo, I was able to do that. What else can't I do? Sometimes people will have that negative thought pattern of, oh, I did it. Yeah, sure, I did it, but the symptoms still came back. You know what I mean? And so what happens is they kind of look at the glass half empty. And one of the great qualities about you was, no, you looked at it half full. You kind of looked at it as, okay, if I can do this, what else can't I do? Right? It's like that self-talk that you had that helped you keep going. And so these are some of the things behind the scenes that the mentors and I saw. And that's why we were like, you're crushing it. You're doing so well. And so, like I said, I've been really proud of you. I hope you're really proud of
Thank
yourself. And I appreciate you hopping on this video. Is there anything else you'd want to share with the audience?
Um, just trust yourself. You can do it. Trust me, I went from not leaving my house to needing my mom with me 24/7 as a grown woman. And now I'm independent. I have two jobs. I'm driving by myself. I'm going on long trips. If I could do it, you could do it too. And Sean is the best. I recommend Sean to help you through this journey. And I'm really grateful, Sean, for the program, for the coaches. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for
I mean,
everything.
of course, we made it for people like you were exactly what we had in mind, what I had in mind when I created it. So I'm just super glad, and go back to living and forget about all this and just have a good time. Yeah, the future's gonna be really bright. So
Yeah.
good job. Um, anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.